So, Pokemon Legends ZA is here. We officially got our first trailer this morning. I am thrilled by what we saw for the most part. I wasn't blown away. I'm very happy with it. The graphics look phenomenal. The return of Lumiose City, this expanded version, the return of AZ, the character, is amazing. My reaction to the trailer, to be fully honest, I recorded it, was not that interesting. It was me just kind of oohing and eyeing. Again, I wasn't blown away by anything, so I didn't want to upload some over-the-top fake reaction. Instead, I'm going to look through the website with information from the game that they always put up that they don't show during the trailer, but that is now available, that I've not yet seen, so you're getting my live reaction in some sense. To the contents of Pokemon Legends EA. We've waited patiently. Late 2025 release is what we all want. This game clearly has time to cook. As I said, the graphics look great. They really do. I think these are the most technically sound looking Pokemon games since nearly 7 years ago when we got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think every other game, even the rendered cutscenes from the trailers, had moments that were like, ooh, that's a little rough. But not here. This looks good. Every single building, every single rooftop. It's not blowing my mind, but it's good enough. It's kind of how I felt about the whole thing. Alright, first piece of actual content that we saw during the trailers, the starters. The fact that there are 2 Johto starters and 1 Unova starter completely bucks the trend of the precedence that we've only gotten through one Legends game so far, but whatever. Not at all what people were expecting. Not in terms of the choices of starters, but also not the fact that there are 2 from one generation. It is inherently imbalanced. There's preference to Johto here, which I don't mind. These are starters that all haven't gotten any forms of any kind before, either regional forms, Gigantamax, and certainly not Mega Evolution. And given that this is EA, I'm sure that we're going to get Megas for all 3 of these guys. And that would make sense why they didn't do Cyndaquil, because he already got his time to shine in Legends Arceus with the regional Typhlosion, so it wouldn't be fair if we got a Mega Typhlosion as well. I get it. It just has the appearance of being unbalanced, and I don't have a lot of attachment to either of these 2. I'm not a Johto guy, I'll be honest about that. I did not grow up with Johto. And I don't particularly love Tepig either. Between the 3 of these, I think I'll give Totodile a spin. That was my starter back when I played Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which was my first outing with Johto. That's right. I like it. It's kind of characteristic of how this game is so far, just kind of a little unexpected, but nothing offensive, just a little unexpected, but I think the fans will be happy. And this is where it gets exciting. We saw a modern Lumiose City. We are seeing a Lumiose City that they are basically saying is the one that belongs to both people and Pokemon from Lumiose City as it was in X and Y. So we're seeing an expanded version. We're seeing shopping arcades, cafes, restaurants. We saw a few of those in X and Y, of course, but in the trailer we saw people scaling rooftops. We saw an indoor mall, and obviously those green spaces where Pokemon are going to be found as wild encounters. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to make a game set in one city, I knew they were going to expand it. And I like the look of this. I like that this is kind of like one of those like tourist posters. The vibe of Legends Arceus was definitely survival. It had, a time period that was associated with. But this one, if, it's in the modern day, so they're going for this kind of like, this looks like a poster that you would see on like, at like a travel agency, or like, a billboard telling you to visit a town, or like a metro map or something like that. I think there's a very clear theme of travel and tourism. It fits with the beauty of X and Y, and despite this being in the modern day, I think this is going to have a very strong aesthetic, very slice of life, very casual compared to Legends Arceus, but I like it. I think this piece of art is gorgeous, and it definitely shows the vibe of the game even better than the trailer did, in my opinion. I'm trying to make out this map. I suppose it's a slightly more expanded version of what we saw. It honestly looks kind of the same in terms of like the boulevards, the five plazas, and of course the central Prism Tower Plaza. But it looks like they're just kind of filling out the blocks, whereas X and Y, they were short blocks. This is probably more scaled to an actual human being, and it looks like buildings that were inaccessible are probably all going to be accessible. It seems like basically everything here has some kind of detail, whether that's a rooftop to access, or like an interior courtyard, so you can not only go in the buildings, but between them. Like there's this Pokemon battle court beneath the Fletchinder. And it looks like, yeah, they've improved the green spaces as well. That was not something we saw in X and Y, obviously, because there were wild roots all around, but it looks like the plan here is going to renew Lumiose, not in terms of the layout of the city. I think that's what a lot of people were thinking back with the older trailers of this game. Over the last year, we thought it was going to be a fully renovating the city after some kind of war or something, especially if it was in the past, building the city up. But no, this is taking the city, keeping the layout as is, but building these beautiful moats and parks and green spaces. It's really just more like a 21st century vision of a city. I mean, I wonder how far it's going to go, if it's going to go full solar punk, and if it's going to be, developing it so every single building has some kind of green space or courtyard where Pokemon can exist. And I wonder what the lore reason for that is in universe. It seems like this takes place right after X and Y, so I wonder why there's such a big push and why you've joined this agency. I'm blanking on the name. I'm sure we'll see it lower, but this agency that's devoted to renewing Lumiose. I wonder if there was some kind of, rampant pollution or overdevelopment in the roots of Kalos that we've seen from X and Y that presumably we will not access in this game at all. I mean, you can see on the map here, it looks like there's literally no way to leave Lumiose. It seems like the 5 exits that would have been there in the past are now just blocked off. Like there's buildings there. Like we're going to be fully in Lumiose. So I wonder why they've decided to bring the nature in. That's still unclear. That's something we've spent the last year theorizing, and we still don't know. And it begins with a sightseeing trip to Lumiose City. You stay in the Z Hotel. You and the new friends you'll meet in Lumiose tech all sorts of incidents that will occur in the city. So I think it's kind of doubling down on what people liked about Scarlet and Violet, in that it's more slice of life. I mean, Scarlet and Violet had some dramatic elements with paradoxes, but at the core, the heart of the story was really just like you and your friends, Penny and Arvin, Nimona, buddies from school. And this looks like it's going to repeat that, just kind of like that dynamic of friends in the city. And I like that. Obviously, it's like hard to just blanket be excited about that because it depends on the story they tell with it. But if it's good, I'm going to be there for it. I generally like those kinds of stories. Yeah, okay, so Wild Zones, you're part of Quasartico. These Wild Zones are driven by that. That's an interesting premise, that it's the first time we've seen like wild areas within a city. And again, I really wonder what happened in Lumiose. I don't think it was necessarily anything bad, but that prompted this dramatic shift. It looks like this is fully blocking off an area that was previously residential or commercial with cars in it, and letting you just roam with Pokemon in the streets, patches of grass overgrowing the city. There's a pond, there's like this little beach or river in the city. And I wonder what that's about. Alright, here's the good stuff. Pokemon and trainers. This art style is great. Older protagonists are back, baby. These are just gorgeous pieces of art. I love the look here. It's kind of Gen Z fashion, fully modern, but like a distinct look, not like the vague, sporty, or childish look that Pokemon protagonists typically have. I'm not gonna lie, this guy kind of looks like a gamer. I don't know if the fedora is doing it for me, but the rest of the look is great. I like these cuffed pants. I like the jackets are beautiful. I mean, Zygarde colors, baby. I wonder what their names are. I don't think we got confirmation of that. Not that it really matters, but I always like to know what the canonical names are of the protagonists. Alright, Urbane and Tawny, I assume, is going to be the friendly rival. And this might be the first time that we've ever gotten a Pokemon rival whose gender varies. Probably to pick the counterpart gender of the one that you pick. That's the first time that's happened, I think, unless it's like you are Brendan and May is your rival, or vice versa, where that's just picking the other protagonist that wasn't chosen. This is different. This is like fully, there are two options, and I wonder why that is. And AZ, this is what we've been waiting for, baby. He is back and better than ever. My guy is thriving in a life of luxury with his Floette after the events of X and Y. My dude retired, and now he's chilling and running a hotel. He claims to be 3,000 years old. That's funny. I think that language implies that, like, no one believes him, maybe. I don't know. Like, maybe he's just, like, people think he's, like, this crazy old guy. But also, the end of X and Y, we saw him just, like, come back. He battled us at the victory parade on the Lumiose Boulevards. So I think people should be well acquainted with him. I wonder why he's living such a humble life. But I'm happy to see that he got a happy ending and that we're seeing it. Not at all something I expected to see. But he looks mortal now. I mean, I think that's the one thing. I think he's free from his curse. He's using a walker. He has a knee brace. Yeah. I am curious to know why he's running a hotel. But I think this is the through line that makes it a Legends game in some way. I'm sure that he has some remaining connection to Xerneas, Yveltal, or Zygarde. Certainly the ultimate weapon. So any big stuff that goes down in the game is going to be tied to him. I'm just so happy we finally have Eternal Flower Floette in, if not canonical, at least accessible. Because I recall that this was made for X and Y, but was never truly accessible. It was meant to be a downloadable Pokemon at some point, but was never rolled out. Surprise, X and Y were undercooked. But this is great that we have essentially this variant, almost like Blood Moon Ursaluna to Ursaluna. It's just like, not a regional variant, but just a variant of Floette. And it honestly makes me wonder if we're going to get other Eternal Flower variant Pokemon. Pokemon that are not Megas, but were also irradiated or have some connection to the ultimate weapon from AZ's time. I think that would be really cool. I mean, again, Blood Moon Ursaluna set a precedence in the franchise for non-regional form variants. Not just form changes, but variants. So we'll see. That's honestly my bold prediction. We're going to get other Eternal Flower variant Pokemon. I don't think that this Floette is a one-off, if they're making it such a prominent part of the game and the marketing. Jet is definitely a villain. Yeah, she kind of reminds me of Lusamine or Colress. Cold and calculating scientist. It doesn't help that she's blonde. The hair reminds me of Colress. It's a Legends game, so obviously there's going to be comparisons to relatives. Yeah, I don't trust her at all. But she's also a great character design. A little basic. It's just kind of a generic scientist thing, but I like the pattern on the dress. Yeah, I wonder what this organization is after. I mean, I think it's going to like take something idealistic and have a twist villain ending where it's something a little nefarious. I'm sure it's not just some idealistic goal of, you know, making the city have more green spaces to benefit the taxpayers. I bet that it's taking it a step further for something bad. Yeah, it just honestly doesn't leave me with a lot of predictions at this time. But we'll see. Vinny, That's kind of a blink and you miss it from the trailer. Love his design. I mean, like what? Tough guy, secretary, bouncer, bodyguard, and he has these little hair clips that are Pancham and Vaneri. I mean, come on. That's wild. Yeah, it's like weird. It's like besides Jet, a lot of the characters in this game have questionable fashion choices. I mean, I don't know why he has these like bright green gloves alongside the shoes. It looks a little weird. The Civil War mutton chops aren't helping, but I feel like he's going to be a funny character. Maybe some comic relief. I can see him being super deadpan, dry sense of humor. It's gonna be great. He's already my favorite, just on looks and vibe alone. Looking forward to seeing Vinny. And we're seeing stuff that we didn't see in the trailer. The legendary Pokemon Zygarde, of course we know. The game is all about this bad boy, but yeah, it seems taking a special interest in you. What could its connection to the story be? I'm wondering that too, bro. They won't tell us. All we got was a shot of 10%, not even base 50%, 10% form Zygarde, just chilling on the roof at the very end of the trailer. Yeah, it's cool. Besides these new renderings, we don't have any new materials on these guys. I wonder if we're going to get 75%, 25% form. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't, just because there's a lot of material basically that was scrapped for the real Pokemon Z and also just kind of left half-baked for Sun and Moon that I think they want to actually build a real story around that's more than just vacuuming up the loose cells. So we'll see. I mean, I wonder if our development is going to anger Zygarde in some way, or if it's going to be more like Scarlet and Violet, where Zygarde is a friend of ours from the outset. It seems it's taken a special interest in us, as the copy says here, so I wonder if it's going to be like Miraidon and Koraidon, a friendly legendary. I hope not, just because we got that in this generation, and I prefer my legendaries to be kind of scary and menacing and mythical, but that's just me. And of course, Mega Evolution is back, and they're giving us a diagram on how it works as if we haven't known for 12 years. Look, anything Mega, I'm going to be super happy that it's back. Again, I think the presentation of it in the trailer was a little weird. The fact that they didn't show any new Megas, which I fully expect we'll get. Like, it's not even like something I necessarily want. It's just like I expect it from a marketing perspective. I'm sure we're going to get a rollout over summer with more Megas. But also, it just seems super casual. Like, we get the ring from the outset, and you can just kind of do it on the streets. And it's not a particularly big deal. So we'll see. I mean, I wonder what angle they're bringing to Mega Evolution to make it different. I don't think they're just bringing back the same old mechanic. I mean, I think functionally, mechanically, it'll be the same. But I just mean in terms of how it's in the story, I think there's something more to it than just we get the ring and it's just a tacked on feature just to placate us. And it's funny, yeah, they're just showing us all these Megas that we've seen before, as if we haven't seen them before. But that's about it. I mean, hey, I'm so excited. Again, it's not what I expected. I, again, thought we were just going to get past Lumiose. It was going to follow the precedents of ZA and be a turn of the century kind of industrial age redevelopment of the city into a real city, but no, it's taking the city we know and love from X and Y, honestly, from the map, freakishly similar to what we saw, just barely expanded, and turning them into something a little different. Nothing crazy. I think that's like the through line of this is to temper our expectations, not because it's going to be lame, but because it's not going to be the total paradigm shift that Legends Arceus was. This is going to be something a lot more familiar. It's a city we know. The only abjectly new thing we saw is the battle system. So I think my advice to all Pokemon fans, me included, is temper your expectations. It's going to be more familiar than it is groundbreaking. And I think that's a good thing, because I think that gives Pokemon an opportunity to give us a rock-solid story, and to give us what looks like, more or less, rock-solid graphics. It looks like they weren't trying to go overboard and stretch themselves to the limit here. They were just, you know, settling for a base hit and getting a base hit so far, rather than, like, swinging for a home run and getting a strikeout. Why am I doing a baseball analogy? This is the French region. I don't know soccer. But I do love me some Kalos. I am so excited. Thank you for watching this. And I will undoubtedly be back in the next few days, weeks, and of course months with coverage of every big piece of news, every trailer we get about Legends ZA. Yeah, thank you for watching. And Kalos forever.